So hello Nia, thank you for joining me today. Hi, Nia Salisbury is Head of Marketing at 9Brand Foods, and she's joining me today to answer a few questions that you've not seen yet. So I will run through them quickly. I will just want your honest first answer that comes to mind. Some of them might be a one-word answer. If there's anything that you're not sure about or you want to come back to, feel free to say pass. Are you ready?
I'm ready as I'll ever be.
Okay. What is the most rewarding element of your role?
That's a good question. I think a lot of people would probably say if they're launching a product or if they've launched a campaign, kind of seeing it come to life, that's always really, really rewarding. I think what's even better for me is gauging kind of consumer feedback from that. So if you see comments on Instagram, social media about kind of how positively they've received your campaign, that's always kind of gives you a really nice fuzzy feeling. And I think the absolute best is when they take time to write in a handwritten letter to kind of the company. It's very few and far between these days because of kind of the takeover of email, but that is really, really lovely, that personal touch, something that I really like.
Goal. Nice. Okay. What do you find the most frustrating thing about working within marketing?
I think probably people who don't work within marketing or kind of have any clue about what you do is really frustrating, because I'm sure you'll have heard the term before, oh, leave it to the fluffy marketeers, let them get their crayons out. And I think that's kind of the only touch point they see is kind of any marketing communications or the end result. They don't really see kind of the underlying iceberg of the strategy that's gone into it, the kind of research and analysis that you have to do to get to the point to create good comms. So I think it's all very fluffy and kind of nice to do, where they don't kind of see the background work, and that's kind of, I find that really frustrating actually.
Okay. And what would you say the ultimate goal of marketing is?
Quite simply, it's just to delight your consumer, to absolutely delight your shopper, your consumer, and really try and get an emotional connection between them and the brand. I think it's just that simple, really.
Do you think with working with agencies, do they have enough appreciation of what it's like being on the inside in-house in marketing, in your opinion, in working with agencies?
I think that kind of varies really. So from my experience of working from big companies and working with smaller companies, the role of marketing in-house is very, very different. In large companies, you've got a very defined role, whereas in smaller companies, it's very much broad brush. You're responsible for a lot more things which wouldn't necessarily fall under marketing in other companies. And I think with smaller companies as well, there's a massive pressure for return on investment in any kind of activity you do. So it's all very well measuring through EPOS and sales and things like that, but I think what would be really beneficial working with agencies would be if they've got any ideas how to measure effectiveness, or it could help you with the kind of measurement of any campaign. That would always go down really well, particularly with SMEs, so they can justify spend and kind of repeat campaigns in the future.
Yes. And is there anything in particular that you look for when you're appointing a new marketing agency, digital agency to partner with?
Yeah, so I think not just aligned values with my company, but that align values with me as well, that will be honest with me, kind of think in the same way as me, but also not be afraid to challenge as well, play a bit of devil's advocate, ask a lot of questions. And I want them to not necessarily agree with me all the time, because you can get very kind of carried away in your thinking, and it's really good to get an outside opinion, and that will really turn a good campaign into a great campaign if you get lots of ideas and challenges, kind of think of it from inside.
Good. And when you're appointing internally, what do you look for when you're hiring sort of marketing candidates to join your team to grow with you?
That kind of varies as well. So I'm quite big into insights profiling and things like that. So it depends what stage my marketing team is at the point of kind of recruitment. So I look at the team mix and what kind of roles I've got in play at the moment, to kind of what I look for. I want a really good kind of mix of people that will create good, healthy conflict in the team. But from a personal level, I want someone who's got tenacity, is a bit of a self-starter, a good kind of positive attitude. I like kind of upbeat, enthusiastic people. And again, somebody who's not afraid to challenge the status quo.
Sounds sensible. And what would you say has been the single most successful campaign you've been part of? You can nail it down to one.
My favourite one would be the time of Warburton's Thins, when they were launching into that category. It's a few years ago now, but it was such a step change, in the bakery. So they created a whole new bakery category with kind of sandwich alternatives and thins. It really took off. So I was involved in the trade marketing side of that, trying to future-proof the bakery category, extend the space out, and convincing retailers kind of, you really need to make room for this. This is kind of the next big thing coming. And it was really kind of groundbreaking at the time. It was really exciting. So that was my favourite thing that I've worked on.
So far. Brilliant.
Yeah, so far.
And if you could give one piece of advice to anyone who's looking to perhaps start a career in marketing, what would it be?
I think marketing's changed so much since I kind of started out in it, but I think fundamentals always remain the same. And the piece of advice I would give is just never forget who your customer is, because I think the further you go up in marketing, the further away removed you get from your customer, and you often start to assume a lot of things, and things change. So I would spend as much time kind of on kind of place of purchase, supermarket floor, that kind of thing, just observing, watching their behaviour as they interact with your brand or interact with your campaigns, and kind of sucking up that feedback and just remaining really customer centric and never losing sight of that customer.
Yeah, sensible advice. And if you didn't work within marketing, what would your dream job be?
I don't know if it'd be my dream job, but I'm really interested in kind of criminology and kind of that kind of psychopath psychology. I think I haven't really got the backbone to pursue it as a career. I'm quite comfortable reading and researching about it from a safe distance, but I find that absolutely fascinating. But again, I suppose it's kind of linked to marketing, because you do look at shopper psychology a lot, so it's kind of
definitely linked. Interesting.
Yeah.
And can you name one business who inspires you?
There's lots nowadays. I think the original one for me, when I sat back and went, wow, would have been the Dove campaign. It's years ago now, when they started using real women for their campaign. That was kind of a breath of fresh air. And as a mum of two girls, I think it's really important that the industry starts to move this way. And I know recently kind of companies such as InStyle have been using kind of normal sized girls to promote their products, and they haven't been doing these fake poses. It all looks very real, and that's really refreshing. And I think it's something, especially the clothing industry, really needs to kind of look into and push a bit more about kind of that normal, kind of normalizing kind of normal bodies. I think that's really,
it's definitely something as marketers we do have a responsibility with, really, isn't it, to
definitely
portray real when we can. So moving on, we all have days when we feel like we're out of ideas, no inspiration. Is there anything that you like to do, or where do you turn to? What do you do for a break, or to get your thoughts together, get inspiration?
Yeah, I'm quite lucky in that I switch off quite easily from work. So when I get home, that's it, that's kind of my home space. And I do find that if I've hit a wall in work, I can go home, switch off. And often that's when kind of your ideas come to you, when you relax and you're not thinking about it. So quite often I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up in the middle of the night and have thought of something. So I do keep my phone by the bed, and I make little notes in the night. Sometimes they don't make much sense in the morning.
No, they seem brilliant in the night, don't they?
Inspiration moments at night. So.
Oh, brilliant. And finally, last question, what would you say has been the biggest change in marketing over the sort of last 10 years that you've worked within marketing?
For me, definitely, because I was in marketing kind of for the last 15 years, kind of came out to go into trade, and then I've come back into consumer marketing. The biggest change for me has been the advancement in digital. So things have moved along so fast. It's not kind of traditional marketing kind of 10, 15 years ago was more kind of like press, TV, all above the line. And now there's so much spend switch to go on social, which has got a lot more kind of cut through rate, really. It's just how people have changed medias. So that has been the biggest learning curve for me. And it's something that I'm definitely focused on getting a grip into, and trying to expand my knowledge there. One of the things about marketing, definitely you can never stop learning. There's always something new.
No. But I think that comes back to what you said earlier, surrounding yourself around good people, positive attitude, and then you can learn the rest, and the principles remain the same, don't they?
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Nia. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for taking your time out of the day before you get started. And
my pleasure.
It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, thank you very much, Jane.